Hello gathered friends and welcome back to the channel. We got another Silent Hill video and not gonna lie, this is gonna be a bit of a rough one. Because as many of y'all probably know, a couple of months ago, Return to Silent Hill came out in theaters. And already I was a little worried about the movie because I remember when the very first screenshots from the film dropped, everyone was just already tearing it apart, and I foolishly told myself, oh, people are just nitpicking, they're looking for small things to complain about, just like with the Silent Hill 2 remake, which I do still plan to do a full review on. But coming back to the movie, I really hate to say it, but yeah, everyone was right. This movie is downright terrible. But is the movie so terrible that it warrants sending the director of the movie death threats? Absolutely not. But even still, I want to do a casual review of the movie. I won't go over every little thing wrong with the movie because if I did, we would be here all day. So welcome, gathered friends, to my casual review of Return to Silent Hill. Now, anyone who saw the trailer knew that this movie was supposed to be based off of Silent Hill 2. One of the most iconic and recognizable games in probably the entirety of the survival horror genre. And on top of that, Christoph Gans, who directed the first Silent Hill movie in 2006, was returning to direct this one, which is another reason that people were worried about this movie, because the first one wasn't really that well received by fans. Now, I'm gonna be upfront with you, gathered friends. There is more about this movie that I disliked rather than liked, and I tried to give it a chance. I really did, but the fact of the matter is that this movie simply failed to deliver what is otherwise an amazing and memorable story. Which is where my first complaint comes in, and it's probably my biggest. The changes made to the story were so random, unnecessary, and sometimes downright silly that after a certain point it almost became completely unrecognizable. I will admit though, I did think they were on the right track at the beginning of the movie, but looking back on it now, I realize that the first red flag should have been when they changed the most crucial part of the story, and that is the note from Mary that brings James to Silent Hill in the first place. In the game, the note is equal parts poetic and cryptic, but in the movie it's basically the equivalent of, yo dude, Silent Hill is pretty chill, maybe you could go to it or something. Now, one thing that I will commend the writers for trying to do differently was give the viewers a better look or better insight as to what James and Mary's relationship was like. Which again, I commend, but I feel like the game was able to convey how much James cared for Mary simply with the fact that he was willing to go to a town that's been abandoned for God knows how long, and was downright dangerous to be in, scary monsters or not, just to find her. But even in these flashback scenes, they decide to hit us with the first curveball of many by revealing that Mary and her father were part of some cult that they don't outright say is the Order, but I do see them use the Order's sigil through maybe 2 or 3 scenes in the movie. And they explain that Mary died because the cult was slowly poisoning her the same way that they were poisoning her father, as opposed to the game's explanation where Mary's cause of death is simply described as, all the deeper themes that made Silent Hill 2 as memorable as it is were either dulled down or removed entirely, and in its place were these weird, poorly written pieces of fan fiction that I feel would just get absolutely demolished on Wattpad. And again, I get they wanted to give exposition, if you could really call it that, but if the original story wasn't that concerned with said exposition, why would I just don't see why the writers would give themselves more work by trying to tell a story that really doesn't need to be told. And of course, I can't talk about this movie without talking about that Mary Angela Laura Crane nonsense. I'm sorry. It's like even now, 2 months after the film has come out, that's still just so absolutely ridiculous to me. But yeah, that was the scene that officially made me lose the already small amount of hope that I had for this movie. Like, that moment, that moment alone was so out of left field that I had to, like, actually put my head in my hands and say, what are we doing? Now, unless I'm looking too deeply into it, am I now to assume that Laura and Angela are physical manifestations of different parts of Mary's personality instead of being their own characters like they are in the game? Again, I might be looking too deeply into it, but that is just the vibe that I got from that scene. That's the idea that I got from that scene. There's also this subplot where James' therapist is trying to constantly get in contact with him to try to find out where he is and help him, and that was like so beyond unimportant, like so unimportant that this is the only time that I'm going to talk about it in this entire video. And then there's the ending. So after James goes to the Lakeview Hotel and makes his peace with the creature that is supposed to represent Mary, but really it just looks like a very, very bad Spirit Halloween costume, he heads back to his car, which has Mary's body in it, just like in the game, and they actually did something that I was not expecting them to do, which was go for the in-water ending. Now, for those who don't know, in Silent Hill 2, the in-water ending is the bad ending, and the one that a lot of fans theorize is the canon ending. Well, in the movie, it plays out how we think it would in our heads. You know, the car plunges to the bottom of the lake, and then we switch to a first-person point of view shot from James' perspective. And when the camera looks straight ahead, a freaking 18-wheeler pulls up out of nowhere and starts barreling towards the camera. We're still at the bottom of the lake, by the way. And yes, it looks as ridiculous as it sounds. Well, as soon as the 18-wheeler is right in front of the camera, we are taken back to the beginning of the movie where James swerves out of the way at the very last second, which is what causes him to hit Mary's luggage and send all of its contents flying everywhere, and that's pretty much how they meet at first. And when I saw this scene, I thought, oh well, maybe James is just hallucinating in his last few moments, which honestly I think I would have preferred. Problem is that's not what happened. James wasn't hallucinating. He was getting a do-over. So just like at the beginning, James gets out to help Mary put all of her stuff back in her luggage. They talk. He offers to drive her wherever it is that she was going. She accepts his offer, and when they both get in the car, Mary notices all of the art supplies in the back of James' car. So she asks him, "So what do you paint?" And instead of answering her question like a normal person would, he just puts on his shades and smiles. And they drive off into the forest. Now, as this is happening, the camera is slowly starting to pan up to where it's above the tree line, and across the forest, the lake, you see the town of Silent Hill, which And as this is also happening, the main theme song for Silent Hill 2, called Theme of Laura, starts playing, which I will admit was beautifully done, you know, absolute cinema, but, and maybe this is just me being dramatic, but I feel like this ending felt very undeserved, considering all the nonsense that led up to it. And that brings me to my next point, the characters. I really can't even call them parodies because they just feel that detached from the characters that they are supposed to be portraying. Now, I want to stress that in no way, shape, or form am I blaming any of the actors and actresses in this movie. I like to think that they did the best with what they were given. Granted, what they were given was absolute slop, but I never once got the idea that any of them were just phoning it in, and that is probably one of the very few nice things that I can say about this film. So the movie tries to make the main character, James Sunderland, this cool, nonchalant, long-haired Chad who wears cool sunglasses and drives a cool car. At least in the scenes when he's not a broken, drunken mess. Which is the complete opposite of his character in the game, who is really about as average as an average guy can be. I'd honestly go as far as to say that he's quite boring. Then you have Eddie, a very prominent character in Silent Hill 2, and he's actually one of the boss fights too. His role is whittled down to basically nothing because we only see him in Woodside Apartments, and then he runs off and we never see him again for literally the entire movie. And not only does he not look anything like Eddie, he also acts nothing like him either, because in the game we can kind of gather from things he says that he's at least around college age, and quite frankly, a bit of a loser who still gets bullied. But in the movie, he's like this crackpot, doomsday prepper type character, which, like many other things in this movie, is a change that I cannot figure out how they can justify. Then that brings us to Laura. Now, her character, again, for some reason, was changed into your typical creepy child in a horror movie running away from the monsters, which is a very, very interesting choice to make, because in Silent Hill 2, Laura is never, and I do mean never, in any danger, because to Laura, the monsters just simply do not exist. She's just a little girl in this abandoned town looking for Mary. Also, I still find it funny that the actress who plays Laura in Return to Silent Hill is the exact same actress that plays her in the Silent Hill 2 remake. So I can just imagine her reading the script for the movie and trying to figure out if she's even playing the same character. Then we have Maria, who, just like everything else in this movie, is stripped of the things that make her character as important to the story as she is. And you know, they do try the whole "do I look like your girlfriend" line, but the way they went about it, it just caused the delivery to fall flat on its face. I feel like the only way that she's truly like her game counterpart is in the outfit that she's wearing, which I will say the design team did a phenomenal job on. Then we finally get to Angela, and she is the one character that I genuinely feel like they made a modicum of an attempt at staying true to her in-game character. But even then, those moments were too few and far in between for me to confidently say, oh yeah, they got Angela's character down pat. But oh, it doesn't stop there, gathered friends, because not even Pyramid Head was safe from these changes. In the game, he's this quiet but relentless force, and that's what made him terrifying. He, as the kids nowadays say, had aura, but in the movie, they've got him hooting and hollering like a common Resident Evil monster, which, like a lot of other things with this movie, is very interesting to me because it feels like he was better portrayed in a movie that he technically wasn't supposed to be in, rather than the one where his existence is actually justified. And both movies were by the same director. That's the thing, that's what's getting me. Despite all of my complaints up to this point, there actually are some things that I do like about this movie. The first one being the set design, specifically when it comes to the overworld. Like, they did such a phenomenal job at making it look so gross, so dingy, so absolutely disgusting that I really feel like they just pulled those out of the game and just put them right there in a set. I wish they also would have pulled all the things that made the story good out of it too, but you know what, hey, you know what, sometimes beggars just can't be choosers, you know? The second thing, and it's probably the only thing I will ever say nothing but good things about, is the soundtrack. Because yeah, I could complain that this movie didn't exclusively use music from Silent Hill 2, but at the same time, Silent Hill and Silent Hill Revelations were both based on Silent Hill 1 and 3 respectively, and those movies used... I hardly heard any music from 1 and 3 in those movies. In fact, I bet if I think back hard enough, those movies probably used more music from Silent Hill 2 than the movie based on Silent Hill 2 actually did. And also, I do love the fact that they did use lesser known songs in Return to Silent Hill, like songs that you wouldn't really hear much about unless you actively went and looked for them. Like, I remember towards the beginning of the movie, when James is getting thrown out of that bar, you hear Waiting for You playing over the speakers, which is a song from Silent Hill 4, and then in another one of the James and Mary flashback scenes, when they're at Heaven's Night, which I find interesting that they changed it from a strip club to just like a regular like lounge / nightclub. Anyway, they have I Want Love, like the full band version of I Want Love from Silent Hill 3 playing over the speakers. So I'm not going to have any complaints about the soundtrack because I love Akira Yamaoka's music, regardless of, you know, how I might feel about an actual game that it's for. I just loved hearing some of those lesser known songs. You know, when we left the theater, and I say we because I invited my sisters to come along with me, but when we left the theater, I left with this feeling of disappointment. And also this really cool postcard that the theaters were giving away. I thought that was pretty cool. I had to snag one. See, it's even got the movie title on the back, so yeah, that's pretty cool. But as we were going on about our day, I was just thinking to myself, why do these filmmakers almost make it unnecessarily difficult to adapt a story that's pretty much been written for them? But with that being said, I do also understand that sometimes cuts just need to be made, and Silent Hill 2 is no exception, because any way you slice it, it is a long game. So much so, oh, my hat's crooked. So much so that the movie had to cut out whole sections of the game, pretty much. Now, when I say I want an accurate movie, I'm not saying that I want to sit through almost 30-40 minutes of James going floor to floor of Woodside Apartment or Brookhaven Hospital. All that can definitely be whittled down to like a very digestible scene. But no, when I say I want accurate, I want all the things that made the story good. Things that, as I said earlier in the video, made the story memorable. And I genuinely feel that all the time that they spent on flashbacks and subplots could have been... that time could have been better used focusing on the current story at hand. You know, take all the James and Mary flashbacks, toss them out. Take the James therapist subplot, toss it out, you know. Honestly, gathered friends, despite all my nitpicking, and that's all this is, that is all this is, I still encourage all of you to go watch the movie for yourself. Form your own opinion on it. You know, maybe you'll find it enjoyable, you know, and if you do genuinely like this movie, if you saw it when it came out, and you genuinely liked it, that is good. I'm glad you can enjoy it, you know, I'm glad that between the two of us, you got something enjoyable out of it. You know, because at the end of the day, all I am is just a guy with a microphone, well, maybe not in this video, but a microphone, an opinion, and a love for Silent Hill. And really, it's not like one bad movie is gonna tank the whole franchise, you know? If anything, I'd consider this nothing more than a minor hiccup. You know, we still got some really cool things to look forward to, you know? Recently, we finally got our first real trailer of Silent Hill Townfall, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think it looks really fun. I'm definitely gonna try to get it the day it comes out. And last year, Bloober announced that they had begun working on a remake of the very first Silent Hill game. And then Silent Hill F came out last year, and I've only beat it once, but I've really enjoyed it so far, and I would definitely like to do a review on that game as well. But until then, this has been my review of Return to Silent Hill. If you've already seen it, please let me know what you thought of it in the comments. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up now, so thank you all so much for stopping by, and have a good one.